Hey guys, Rab here from Rabtastic Paints. Recently, I was invited to collab with some of the biggest MESBG YouTubers in the scene, some really incredibly talented guys, and John from JMax Armies of Middle-earth. Led by Benji from Benji's Hobbies, the idea was simple. It's been a while since Games Workshop has dropped a new supplement for Lord of the Rings, so why not create our own? We would have to kitbash our own models and create a profile for them, and then we put them all together, release them together, and have some fun. You know, once I came up with an idea for a model. After a couple of duds, I finally came up with a perfect idea. Now I knew that I had a full troll kit in my bits box somewhere, so I had to dig through and find all of the parts. You see, a long time ago I had a genius idea about fully magnetising my trolls so that I could swap their weapons, give them drums whenever I wanted. And then I never did it because I stopped using trolls after the first game I played with them. Now there were a few options for arms to use, but they all had armour on them, and in the movie the troll was barely clothed, so I had to settle for the drummer arms and then just take out the drumsticks, I guess. So a quick clip with my clippers was all it took to get rid of those drumsticks, and then clearing out the bits you can see at the bottom of the hand and in between the fingers. I then went on to clip some of the shoulder and upper arm so that I could pose them in a more dynamic pose, sort of to the sides, elbows out drumming. Isn't really how you would run, so I wanted the arms to be tighter to the body and one angled in front, one angled behind, in that sort of classic running pose. I then used a block of sandpaper to sand down the joints where the arms would meet the body, try and get them as flat as possible. If you're going to do this, please wear a mask. Breathing in plastic is not good for you. And I had to give him a little haircut as well because he would not be able to put on his funny hat with this ponytail. I did notice a slight flaw in all this, and maybe it's the semi-perfectionist in me. He was still holding a drumstick in his hand, so I'd had to take my pin drill or pin vise, little handheld non-electric drill, and drill out a hole where nothing would be, I guess. Yeah, where his empty palm would be. That makes sense. You drill out a hole because nothing's going to be there. That's why it's a hole. It is the definition of an absence or something. Absence, not absinthe, that's that horrible drink. Next was the part that I was most looking forward to, and that was using Milliput to sculpt out the missing parts that had been chopped and sanded away. Now I've only ever used Milliput as a basing material to stick stubborn cavalry to a base, so this was actually really quite fun. I started off with a little blob of Milliput in the shoulder joint, and then I angled the arms to make it look a little bit more fluid, like he was in movement rather than just a static miniature. And then I used a sculpting tool dipped in some water to blend the Milliput into the skin. This would help cover any gaps or holes and make it look like it's all just one piece. Once I eventually was happy with what I had done, I moved on to the other arm. And then, no sense in repeating myself here, we did the exact same thing for the second arm. A little bit of Milliput, sculpting tool dipped in some water, blended the Milliput into the skin, and I've just told you again what I did the first time. You know, I was quite impressed with how easy this was. I think I'm going to do it with some other models in future to make them look a little bit more dynamic rather than some of the static poses they have. With the rest of the Milliput, I really wanted to cover the glaring magnets that are sticking out of his belly, so I thought a little bit of abs. I'll give him some abs. I mean, this guy's a runner. He's been training his whole life to run full speed into a wall head first. He might have some abs. But then, much like with myself, I struggled to sculpt some abs, so I gave him a big fat belly. And you know what? I don't think that was bad for my first attempt. With the main body of the troll done, it was time to craft his brick helmet that he uses to smash holes in walls. Now, originally I was going to use foam, but my recent experiences with foam have been pretty bad, and I had made an awful lot of Milliput, so I decided to use Milliput instead. Learning from said mistakes with foam, I sculpted the Milliput into separate bricks so that I didn't have to make it look like it was separate bricks. I could just sculpt into separate bricks and stick them together later. I then used the last of the Milliput to base the model and help it stick in place along with the glue, and then I left it overnight to dry. Now, I think I actually left this to set for 2 days because I was waiting for a package from Amazon. It was these sanding sticks, which were fantastic. They cost me pennies on Amazon, and I've got more than I'll probably ever need. And they were great for smoothing out all of the edges of the Milliput and making it look more natural. Once it was sanded, it was primed in grey, and all that was left was the most terrifying part of all, painting it. The troll was given an all-over base coat with Space Wolves Grey, which I thought was a really good colour for that cold skin that they have. And if you see like some of the Angmar cave trolls, which are sort of bluish, I thought this would be a good base coat. The belts and straps were painted with snakebite leather, whilst the cloth was painted with gore grunter fur. And finally, the bricks were based with Black Legion. I like using speed paints to put down a base coat for everything and then adding some highlights using regular paints. Onto said highlights, the skin was highlighted with Rakarth flesh and then pallid witch flesh or wick flesh. And then the brickwork was dry brushed with Mechanicus Standard Grey, Administratum Grey, and then a little bit of Jokero Orange just to give it a sort of orangey bricky look. Now I am going to base the model with AK Interactive Terrain Mud, but I wanted to give it a full coat of Mornfang Brown just to make sure none of the grey showed through. I then washed the model with Reichland Flesh Shade for the skin and Nuln Oil for the brickwork. And then all I had to do was slap down some of that AK Interactive Terrain Mud, a couple of tufts, rim the base with some dryad bark, and that was them done. Not a bad job if I do say so myself, and definitely a model that I will use on the tabletop just for the memes. But yeah, now we need to actually go and have a look at his profile and see what he does in game. And here are his stats. Now he is worth 20 more points than your average troll because he's got some pretty cool special rules. First of all, he's fearless because look at him go, look at him run into that wall. Does he look like he's scared? Not a chance. He causes terror just like any other troll, and he has got two very special rules that took me a lot of time to come up with. The first one, sending the Warbeast. When he charges into enemy units, he deals D3 damage against both himself and the enemy that he charged. You've seen what happened when he hit that wall, he just fucking died. On a roll of a 1, he deals no damage and he just dies. Attack the city is the same rule except it's D6 whenever he's attacking walls, doors, barricades or terrain. So, or siege equipment as well, I think. Yeah, siege equipment as well. I thought that would be quite thematic because he runs into that wall, smashes it, then just dies. Yeah, so what do you think, guys? Would you play with this unit in game? Let me know in the comments below. And that's the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making this video. It took a few days to make the model itself. Had to learn some new sculpting skills, but totally worth it. Loved every minute of it. Huge thank you to Benji from Benji's Hobbies for inviting me into this collab, and again another thank you to JMac for wangling me an invite into it as well. He's actually alright when you get to know him. Go give him a follow and check out his videos. Huge thanks as always to my Patreons. I'll put their names up there for helping support the channel and giving me the funds to buy silly things like Milliput and sculpting tools and my new addiction of magic cards. Yeah, I got into Magic the Gathering. That's going to be an expensive one. Guys, there are more than just me and Benji in this collab, and John. So I'll list everyone's videos in the description below. Please go and check out all their videos as well. This has been a fun little thing to do with the community. Games Workshop hasn't exactly abandoned MESBG as much as people might say they have. There is a new supplement coming soon, but we wanted to hurry up a bit and make our own one. Hopefully the new supplement is better than ours, but I don't think it will be. Guys, that's all from me. Take care.